In today's episode, Chef Yossel Backman shows Chef Kendra how to make his delicious Veal Paillard with Reduced Apple Gastrique using Prairie Street Co's Veal Rib Chops.
That is so good. Oh my God.
That is so good.
Welcome to the Prairie Street Culinary Kitchen. I am one of your chefs today, Chef Kendra, and I am with...
Chef Yossel Backman.
Yes. YB_experience because he's amazing. So Chef Yossel is a world-renowned private chef, has worked in the highest and most amazing restaurants everywhere internationally, and takes so much of what you learn in those different countries and those different places from your clients, and you bring it back home with you.
Back to the Prairie Street Kitchen.
Back to the Prairie Street Kitchen. So it's always an honor to work with you. I'm super psyched.
Same here.
Today we are making Veal Paillard with a Reduced Apple Gastrique using Prairie Street Co's Veal Rib Chops. Let's get started with the Veal Paillard, those beautiful veal rib chops. Just to point out really quickly, a couple of things. We're going to pound them out and we're gonna get it down to about like a 1/2 inch. You may note that there's plastic wrap all over the board and then plastic wrap on top. As always with all of Prairie Street Co's amazing products, this marbling, even on veal, is like sweet and decadent and buttery.
Yeah, which just to jump in here is like really kind of rare. I mean, veal very often is kind of like forgotten to some extent. It's like everyone focuses on the beef and the prime ribs and the tomahawks and the cowboys and whatnot.
Yeah.
And when it comes to veal, it's kind of like forgotten a little bit, and it's like no fat, no marbling, nothing. And these, I mean, I've personally worked with these before as well, and they're gorgeous, and they're marbling, and obviously marbling equals flavor. So these are the way to go for sure.
I mean, you have it right here from an international chef, so you know you're in good hands, okay? All right, so let's pound these out. So let's talk about this tool, the meat mallet. There are two sides to it, very important. A nice flat and smooth side and a jagged tenderizing side. These puppies are super tender. We don't need to tenderize them. You want to reserve that for like your heartier cuts of meat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to be using the smooth side because we want to flatten it out. In order to do that, I'm going to start kind of like closer to the bone because that's my thicker area, and work my way out to the outer surface. And I want to, as I'm going, just try and keep this like nice and flat. You don't have to go crazy. And I have a little tiny bit of like a pound push motion. Little. Pound push.
When you are pounding meats in general, because the meat is obviously going to be thicker at the bone, and then it's going to be thinner at the other end, what you want to make sure that you're adjusting your pressure as you go. As you did mention, it's kind of like a hit and kind of like pull a little bit. So you just want to make sure that as you do that, you're not pulling too much because you don't want to pull off the bone.
Right.
Because presentation-wise, which us chefs, we're always thinking about the final product. Obviously you want that bone on there. So you just want to make sure that you're adjusting the pressure as you go, so you're not pulling off and away from the bone, and so that you're getting a consistent size throughout, so that you get ultimately a consistent cook.
Exactly. And I think mine is...
That looks pretty good to me.
We're good.
My turn.
Yeah?
All right. I think that looks pretty good right there.
It does, I know.
All right.
So we are going to take these guys over to the stove, and Chef Yossel is going to teach us how to make this amazing gastrique.
We are now going to gastrique it up.
Ready?
Let's do it.
Psyched.
Okay, so what is a gastrique? A gastrique is a French sauce. Super simple, really fun name, so definitely pay attention and make this at home, because your next dinner party, this is the recipe.
And it's totally, like, it's really something that's so easy, but it's going to like elevate the dish, and it's just going to wow all of your guests, and
it will really take it to the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the fundamental of a gastrique is that it's a sugar-based sauce, and you're adding a bunch of acid, so it really kind of has that sweet and sour kind of flavor going on. to start, we're going to turn our pot up here. We're gonna go at a medium heat. We are trying to caramelize sugar. A few notes about caramelizing sugar. When you are in your home, number one, it gets really hot. So if it sticks and spills on you, it will burn and it will hurt.
Yeah. Big time.
Any chef knows. We've all done it before. So just be very, very careful, which is why, if you see here, I'm actually using a taller pot, even though we're making, that much sauce, very little. It will give us the, kind of the safety of not making sure that the sugar doesn't go anywhere and that we're safe.
Right.
And other than that, when it comes to sugar, yes, you want to caramelize at a higher temperature, but if you're doing it for the first time or you're not comfortable, definitely do it at a lower temperature and just kind of take your time. Be patient, it will caramelize. All sugar does.
Yeah, and you'll see it like start to turn, but this
You'll
once
be able
it
to
does
smell.
start,
You'll
it
be able to
happens.
smell it as
You'll
well.
be able to smell it as well, and it happens like kind
Very
of fast.
fast.
So you really want to be on top of it.
Yes, pay attention to it.
All right.
The
Gastrique.
only thing you could do while you're doing that is watch Prairie Street videos. Right?
Like this one that's telling you how to do it.
Obviously this one or any other one. So we are at a medium heat. We're gonna go right in with our sugar. So once the sugar goes in, I like to kind of just shake the pot a little bit, just to kind of give it, even surface.
Yep.
That way the caramelization will be even as well. And I'm just gonna actually add a little bit of water in there, just a little bit, just to kind of get that. You can do it straight from sugar.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more kind of touchy. So you want to just add a little bit of water, just enough to kind of come to the top of the sugar level. And that's just you're gonna kind of shake that up a little bit, let that sit right there. And it's gonna start slowly bubbling. You'll see it will start around the end. We're actually cooking out the water, so we're evaporating the water. And then we'll be left with just a simple syrup. And that we are going to reduce and slowly caramelize into our caramelized sugar, which is then the base of the sauce.
Right.
Now, a note about mixing, which as you can see, I don't have a spoon in there, I don't have a whisk in there. Very rarely I'll just give it like a little shake, just to kind of make sure it's grooving in there, but there's a reason for that. The reason why we're not doing that is because you don't want the sugar to come up on the rim of the pot.
Right.
And because that sugar will burn very, very fast, and we don't want those burnt notes in our actual sauce.
Yeah.
So just kind of let it be, let the water evaporate, let the sugar and the syrup reduce and caramelize, and that's the base of, and that will be the base of our sauce. And you're not going to want a super high heat, as you can see. I'm at a fairly medium heat.
So you
and
reduced it down a little bit.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's just doing its thing, very consistently and slowly reducing. Okay, so as you can see along the ends here, we are slowly starting to caramelize. Okay, so we are getting into a good place here. It's going to start caramelizing a little deeper color around the ends.
Yeah.
And at this point, you can give it like a gentle stir. The sugar will be reduced, the syrup, so it's going to be a lot thicker. But again, you want to try to whisk it very gently so that you're not coating the side of the pot. But as you can tell now, it's like a consistent color, as before the middle was still white. So that is very much what we are looking for. Now, typically, you can just go in straight with your acid here and you're done. You can season it with whatever. For our dish, apples pair very, very, very well with veal, so that's a very classic pairing. So we're kind of diving into that a little bit. So we have over here some natural apple juice.
This is very important, guys.
Not the stuff on the shelf, which is like clarified, and there's other stuff in here. Here we actually want some of the pectin, because that will help with the sauce and give it some viscosity and whatnot. So as you just heard, it got really loud for a second, which is really great. That's what you're looking for. You're looking to get that sizzle, get that juice in, and then it should kind of get quieter, which is a good sign that you have your liquid in, also that it's fully incorporated, because your sugar can crystallize, which is something you have to look out for. It will get really hard.
Yeah.
So it's important, and I suggest that you wear gloves, like oven gloves or mitts, so that you don't burn your hands. But you want to whisk at the same time so that sugar gets fully incorporated at the same time as you're pouring the liquid in. If not, you'll have a crystallized sugar mess.
And also, like, shouldn't you use a room temperature liquid versus a cold liquid that's coming right out of the refrigerator?
Yes.
So like, let the liquid sit out for like an hour or so before you use it with this. Room temperature is really important.
And then also before you add that liquid in, turn your fire down a little bit to low. And then once you kind of get it all back in and it starts bubbling again, you can go ahead, crank it all the way up, because you're just going to reduce it. Right. So you're good to go. You don't have to worry about the sugar burning or anything anymore. You're past that stage.
Yeah.
So this is what we are looking for now, which is just bubbling away, sizzling away. So while the gastrique is starting to thicken and reduce, so I'm just kind of whisking it up and just watching it really boil, and it's going to reduce a little bit, and that sugar is going to tighten up, and we're going to get that saucy, delicious consistency. And then we're going to hit it with the vinegar. Yeah. And then it's good to go. This has been reducing for about 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes now. We are looking to reduce it, I would say, at about 60% of the way. Okay, so you'll start seeing in the pot where the sugar started, and then you'll see kind of how far it comes down. Yeah. So at about 50%, when it comes down about 50%, that's when you really want to start paying attention to it again. Up until then, you can kind of just set it in the back and kind of forget about it. But when it starts coming down, what you want to look at is there's a classic French word called nappe. What you're looking for is in the back of the spoon, it will kind of coat it, a thin layer on the back of the spoon. And you can just see by running your finger right through it, it creates a perfect streak. We are in business, in the perfect spot. So we're just going to give a quick mix here. We have reduced about 60 to 65%. We are golden. You can see it's kind of bubbling away. That's a good sign that we're getting down to where there's no more liquid. And we're just the actual sauce now. So we're going to go in with our vinegar.
So this is the rice wine vinegar.
That's the rice vinegar, and then we're going to go in with some red wine vinegar as well. And you're going to give that a quick mix. If you can really smell those notes of the acid, the notes of the apple, the sugar, and like that's one really fun trick about doing sugar sauces is you can really rely on your nose a lot because you can really smell every part of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill that, and the gastrique is done.
All right, the gastrique is done. It's set. It's hanging out in the back. Let's get to frying up these paillards. So I just want to give these guys a nice generous seasoning of some coarse kosher salt and some ground black pepper on both sides. And I also want to make sure that I get that bone. Now, for the frying, I have a heavy bottom skillet that I'm going to be heating. Right now I have it on like a low to medium high heat. I'm going to use extra virgin olive oil, just a little bit. So we'll take this first one. Love that sound.
That's the sound.
That's the sound right there. All right, so we're gonna let that sit for a minute. You actually don't want to touch the meat when you first put it in. You want to let it sit while it's hot, because if you start moving it around too much, it's gonna stick to the pan and tear. We don't want to do that. Let it sit, let it hang out.
The meat will naturally release once it's actually seared. So you just want to really kind of listen to it, and you can actually hear how right now it's sizzling, right? It will start, I guess, less sizzling, or even a little less. You'll be able to hear when it stops, and that's when you want to go in and flip it.
Yep, exactly. And what I'm going to do with these, now it is the paillard, so it is a thinner cut. We pounded it down to about 1/2 inch. Because this bone is sticking out, we are going to throw it into the oven just for a few minutes, just to ensure like that it's totally cooked
100%.
through. But again, it's not going to be overcooked in any way.
Now, Chef, how many minutes per side would you say we're looking at here?
So I like letting it go for about 3 to 4 minutes per side. Again, because it is the thinner, right?
Not more than that. You really, if anything, you want to finish it actually in the oven as opposed to in the stove.
Yes.
Because you'll have much more control over
Totally.
that.
And at that point too, even like after I flip this side, that top side is still cooking, right? It's always that carryover heat. So we just want to really get that
that color. That golden brown and delicious.
Golden brown and delicious. Look at that color. So nice. This one is Good to go. And let's put on number 2.
And as Chef Kendra's doing right now is where you're kind of picking up the pan and moving the oil around. That's also important because, you know, a lot of pans kind of have, you know, certain like the spots where they're higher and lower, and the oil will kind of pool in some areas. So definitely make sure you're moving that pan around and moving that fat around instead of just adding more and more and more.
And then that's the golden color you're getting. All right, so veal rib chop to Veal Paillard number 2. Okay, let's go ahead and put this in the oven. 400-degree oven for maybe like 4 to 5 minutes tops. Don't walk away. Don't walk away. All right, so we're clearly getting ready for this like super intense and amazing dinner party.
And colorful.
And very, very colorful.
Very colorful.
So we have our Veal Paillard. It is out of the oven. Again, we had it after frying it in the heavy bottom skillet. We put it into a 400-degree oven for about 5 minutes, which was like
about 4 or 5 minutes.
Totally perfect. And then it has been resting here on this rack. Over here, we have some like really amazing things. So Chef Yossel put together an awesome chicory salad. Chicories are things like endive and radicchio. They are your bitter greens. Do not be afraid of them. I feel like so many times people, especially like in the US, like shy away from bitter. It's awesome and it's super, super healthy. So chicory salad. We also have a black garlic and roasted apple puree that's going to go down with the veal, a smoked pine nut butter, and then a beautiful apple dressing, apple vinaigrette.
A creamy roasted apple vinaigrette, yep.
Yep, just to kind of balance it out. So let's get to this so we can get to this and eat it up.
Perfect. So just real quick, right here with the black garlic, right? If people are not familiar, this is black garlic. Black garlic is just slowly fermented over about 3 months. So it's literally just a whole head of garlic you put it at a low heat and just kind of let it go. And it turns into this really sweet and like nutty and really fun and not that like sharp, you know, kind of in your face garlic flavor that we all know. So that's like what made that
fun and funk.
Yeah, and it's definitely a really fun color as well, which is really awesome. The smoked pine nut butter is actually really cool. So it's just smoking the pine nuts. And then kind of just puree them smooth with a little bit of water and a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt, and you get this earthiness and this nuttiness and salt and the smoke, and it's really cool, you know, working with the veal, which we seared and we oven roasted, kind of building into those notes of caramelization and roasting. And then with our chicory salad, we actually have some really cool apple blossoms as well. Pretty. Super pretty. Again, just adding a little acid to our salad over here to balance out with the bitterness. And then, of course, can't forget our gastrique. So, very quickly, just to put together this salad right here. Here we have an apple that we're just gonna...
And this apple, like we were sure, you don't want to just slice the apple ahead of time. Like you can see, we did a lot of preparation ahead of time. But because an apple will oxidize, that's when it turns brown. We want to slice it right before we're going to serve it. If you need to do something ahead of time with an apple, let it slice and then sit in acidulated water, which is lemon juice and water. It's like super sciencey chef terms, but really simple.
So I'm just slicing this apple really, really thinly on a mandolin. Be very, very careful. Okay, so here we have our very, very thinly shaved apples. We're just gonna toss those, just kind of break them up a little bit. Then we're gonna go in with our apple blossoms. Super acidic, kind of balances out with the chicories, and obviously chicories are super beautiful, but these apple blossoms really just take that salad to
that is
the
like
next level.
fall in a bowl. But what's so nice about it is like it's something that you could have all year round.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
It's really nice.
Okay, so we're just gonna kind of toss that. So here we have our dressing. So this vinaigrette, we added a little bit of Dijon mustard and slowly emulsified it with oil so that it gets this really nice and creamy consistency as opposed to like a very liquidy and oily consistency. So we're just gonna go ahead and give a nice little spoon of that right over the top. So our salad's ready.
Great.
Next we're going to plate up over here. So we're gonna start with some of this black garlic. So I'm just gonna make a little divot there. I'm just gonna go down with some of the smoked pine nut right
Gorgeous.
in the middle there. So Chef, did you want to put the veal right on top? Beautiful, perfect, just like that. And then we're just gonna do a nice little spoon over of this gastrique.
Love it. Oh,
And then we're just gonna go with
this is stunning.
with this salad right here. Just go right on top.
Nice.
Kind of build off to the side here. Beautiful.
So there you have it, our Veal Paillard with a reduced apple gastrique using Prairie Street Co's veal rib chops. And it's time to dig in.
Let's do it.
All right. So you're gonna work on that end. I'm gonna work on this.
I am ready to dig in.
Go ahead.
Just gonna take it.
It's like you have to get a little bit of everything.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my God, look at that. It's cooked perfectly.
The cook is
It's like,
amazing.
it
yeah.
is totally amazing. It has just like a nice, very, very light pink
Slight
to
pink.
it. Very, very slight pink. Dude,
That is
that is so good. Oh my God.
That is so good. I mean, the veal is for sure the highlight, 100%.
Yeah,
it's
but
like it's amazing, and then all the flavors really accent it.
God.
You get a little bit of the sweetness from the gastrique, the sourness and bitterness from the chicories. You have the pine nut, the earthiness, the black garlic, which also has like this nuttiness. That's a winner.
It's like, it's just the fat and the acid are so happy together in there.
Yeah, it's a very happy dish.
It's a very, very happy dish. Well, there it is. We're gonna split this up between the two of us and devour it. If you want to experience this amazing dish for yourself, our Veal Paillard with a reduced apple gastrique using Prairie Street Co's veal rib chops. Go to our website, Prairie Street Co. Buy this incredible product, the veal rib chops. You can check out all of our videos, get our recipes, hear more about Chef Yossel and his incredible culinary endeavors.
And Chef Kendra.
We'll see you guys every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Subscribe to our channel now and set your notifications so you don't miss our latest recipes and chef-led tutorials. Then head over to prairiestreet.co to shop for your next big meal.